Hello, my name is Nicole Georges, and I'm here to demand that the locker rooms and bathrooms at District 109 be designated as biological male and biological female, as there already is a gender-neutral option. The girls want their locker rooms and bathrooms back. They want their privacy back. This is why I'm here tonight. My 13-year-old daughter's well-being and mental health and privacy is at stake. This nightmare
So you're telling me that they have a gender-neutral bathroom, but they're still having them use the gender that they're not, like, assigned at birth? So you already have? That's crazy.
began on February 5th when my daughter was using the girls' bathroom and was stunned that a biological male student was using it as well. She came home frightened and was extremely upset. I asked her to talk with her teachers and find out more information. She was told by the administration that a student can use the bathroom as well as a female locker room because they now identify as female. I was sent an email to the teachers involved and received a call from Principal Wegley. He verbally reiterated that under Joanna Ford's direction and their legal counsel that the student could use both the locker room and bathroom. I expressed that the school was in clear violation
Oh, man.
of federal policy. The Trump administration issued an executive order restricting biological males from participating in sports and
You're talking
accessing
about kids? What? Yeah, these are 13-year-old children.
female locker rooms. That day, I filed a civil rights complaint on behalf of my daughter with the Department of Justice. It has now been referred to the Department of Education. A federal complaint has been filed with the district to protect the students. The situation went from bad to worse. A few days later, the male student was present in the girls' locker room. Feeling violated, the girls made the choice to not change into their PE clothes with a biological male student present. The next day, Assistant Principal Kathy Van Treese pulled the girls into their office, questioning them. The same day, Assistant Superintendent
Based, by the way.
Joanna Ford, Kathy Van Treese, and multiple teachers all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform.
Now, in my opinion, if this happened, and we don't know whether this is her accounting of it, we're not sure that this happened. But if it did happen, what do I always say? If you want a behavior to stop, you have to hold people accountable. Find out who the people are that made the girls do that, and then hold them personally, criminally accountable for sex crimes. This will stop overnight. This is actually such an easy problem to solve. And I don't know why the Justice Department doesn't do that. This is radical, extreme behavior that's beyond any normal comprehension. This is forcing, like, preteen girls to dress out in front of male students. There's just literally, that's disgusting. Teen? Well, if she's 13, then she's probably in middle school. And if she's in middle school, that means that it's probably 11, 12, and 13 and 14.
This went on all week with the addition of Ginger Laugerman. My daughter
So, wait a second.
all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform. This went on all week with the addition of Ginger Laugerman. My daughter refused to take part in having her privacy being violated. How dare they?
Yeah.
She ran out and called for me for help. Principal Wegley answered was offering my daughter a new PE class. The answer was no. She is not changing for the remainder of the year, and she is not changing into another class. The girls just want their privacy.
Well, that's not a solution, because what if everybody wanted that to happen? Like, because if the solution is to have the people that aren't okay with it change into another class, well, then what happens when nobody else is okay with it? Then you only have the one class for this one person. You can't use that as a logical policy.
privacy, and they want their locker room
By the way, like based kid, actually like standing up for themselves.
back. There are gender-neutral options. This is my daughter's story and the story of many other young girls who have been forced at the difficult age.
And I think this is another big component to it that matters a lot, is that if you have gender neutral bathrooms, the only argument that I think has any water is that just from a functional perspective, they have to go into one place or another, so they have to go here, right? But that's not the case. They have a gender neutral bathroom, so they should just go there. The solution is literally right in front of them, and they're choosing not to go with this solution.
To do something they know and most adults know is wrong. Do the right thing, Deerfield, and give these girls their locker room and bathrooms back. Allowing biological males to access girls' locker rooms sets a dangerous precedent that erodes the very foundation of female privacy and safety. By making this decision, the school board is not only disregarding the concerns of young female students and making their families, but also establishing a legal and policy.
By the way, this is a topic that people choose to vote off of. So it doesn't matter what your policy is on Israel or Palestine or Ukraine or anything like that. If you're telling parents that their teen daughter has to dress out in front of a man, they're not voting for you. That's it. That's the end of the line.
Framework that will make it increasingly difficult to protect the integrity of female-only spaces in the future.
And I think that they should keep pushing this as much as they can. And like Trump was actually right about this, about bringing up these different issues, like right before the midterms and the new elections, because anybody who is on board with this or even slightly like apologetic about it is immediately disqualifying themselves from office. This is, in my opinion, a single issue voter thing. Tolerate? Yeah, if you tolerate this even 1%, I think that you are disqualifying yourself from being voted for by the majority of the population. That's it. No sympathy? Yeah, exactly. What did the Democrat person say in the video? Republicans are obsessed with identity politics. Well, that's the problem. And this is the issue, is that people get mad at Republicans for fixating on trans issues. Well, if this is such an easy issue and it doesn't matter that much, then why don't you just listen to what people are saying and apply that, because it makes them more comfortable? So it's a very big self-report that people like this are trying to simultaneously make an appeal to triviality, but also won't budge on their initial perspective. If it doesn't matter, then why won't you change it? Well, because it does matter. And it matters more than anything if you have a young kid. And also, the thing is that it is an indication of a worldview and a type of thinking. And that indication is something that I think like most people, like, it's like flat earth, right? That's what I said. It's just like flat earth. Let them die on this hill? Well, yes. And by the way, people will kill you for this hill. Not literally, right? Metaphorically. This will be the issue that you will get voted against on if you even pay any credibility to this whatsoever. Because like you're talking about like transgender sports, and that's like an 80-20 issue. This is transgender changing in their preferred gender locker room and the other students being forced to deal with it and not going to the gender neutral bathroom. Like that's like, in my opinion, a 95-5 issue. It's way more than 80% with this. Thank you. Yeah, everybody, yep, there it is.
Yeah, for real.
Why are you looking at children's genitals? Nice try. Nice try. No, that's not going to work.
Nobody was booing you when you were talking, weren't you?
Becky. Next name.
We'll call our next participant, Charles
Excuse me,
Friedman, please.
if we can be respectful of everybody's time here, so.
Yes.
Did she even listen? Well, what they can do, so this is the problem, is that people that are like this, they have no foundation for any of their thinking other than emotional, illogical, stupid reasoning. So the only way that they can respond is by basically trying to misrepresent you in a way that's hyperbolic, that makes you seem like the dumb one. They have to, they misinterpret you intentionally.
I am happy to go after that one. Thank you, school board. From what I've heard, y'all are following the law, which is fantastic. My name is Charlie Friedman. My pronouns are they, he. I am a trans person. I am the parent of a trans middle schooler. I am also the director of operations for Trans Up Front. It's a nonprofit organization fighting for trans rights. We partner with over 30 major organizations, including the ACLU, Lambda Legal, HRC.
It's really shocking that left-wing people like pay any credibility to this at all. About like basically child grooming. Like, and I guess I like, when I see a person and they're trans and their kid that's like prepubescent is also trans, I assume that they got groomed to be trans. I do. I assume that they got raised that way, and it's the same thing as the other video, and I'm sure that there are cases where that's not true. But I think that there's a lot of them where it is true.
Etc. We have a protest coming up for trans rights on March 30th, 1 p.m., Federal Plaza. We have and I would like to take a moment to talk about Illinois. We're all very lucky to live in a state that protects everyone here. Specific to today, Executive Order 2019-11, which my kid was standing next to Pritzker when he signed. Yes,
and by the way, there are already other permutations of this that exist, things like Munchausen by proxy, and it's very common that stuff like this happens. So the idea that parents would not indoctrinate their kids in order to have some sort of worldview or behavior is just simply based off of nothing. Kids get indoctrinated into politics. They get indoctrinated into religion. They get indoctrinated into like a social system. To say that they're not being indoctrinated into a gender ideology and to say that this is impossible is the most illogical conclusion that you can possibly have. It's completely illogical.
executive order from the governor. And in that order, it's called Strengthening Our Commitment to Affirming and Inclusive Schools, which protects trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students from the type of bullying that this parent represents.
They're being bullied now. That's right. And this is and the entire, you have to understand that the entire worldview of these people is completely based around victimhood. It's based around victimhood and the ability to take on the mantle of the victim and then justify bad actions as a result of that. I hate these people. I think that these people do a tremendous disservice to the trans community, and the inclusion and the fixation on trying to indoctrinate and make trans issues accessible to and relevant to minors is such an unpopular issue that I think they are doing irreparable damage to the trans community, and they will cause people to straight up hate trans people. And it's already happening. And I feel bad for average adult trans people who just always felt like, oh, I'm the opposite gender. I'm going to go through a transition surgery. And they just want to live their life through the opposite gender. And they unfortunately get lumped in with these extremists, these radicals, these psychos, and in a lot of cases, I think groomers. You have parents saying that they knew their kid was trans before their kid could talk. No, they didn't. That's that's probably child abuse. It's insane. They're radical lunatics. They are. They're radical lunatics. And the problem is that these people are caricaturing, like, trans people have like an extremely high rate of suicide. Obviously, you know, it could be due to like underlying gender dysphoria. But I think another reason why trans people kill themselves a lot is because they're not accepted in society. And I think that these people are doing so much damage to those people that are just trying to live their life in a way that they think is authentic to themselves. And I think that's what's really sad about it, is that you have these people and they're just totally destroying it. It's like forcing your kid to go to church. I think this is a bit worse. It's not society's fault. I don't know. I think that what I'm saying, I think there's some relevance to what I'm saying. I do. And I do. Like, it's common sense, right? If you have like, if you have a big piece of your identity that a lot of people actively deny and hate, then that is going to make your experience as a person worse. Is it that crazy to say? I see very little difference between the trans that want to live their lives and these aggressive lunatics. Ultimately, gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, which is an unhealthy mental condition. It should not be enabled. I think that an adult should be able to make their own decisions on what they want to enable and what they don't want to enable for themselves. Because you're a free person, you're a free American, you should be able to decide that as an adult. But the difference is whenever you involve underage people. That's the big issue that we're talking about here, and that's the big problem.
Also, under the Illinois Human Rights Act, Section 3B-1, the use of restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms may not be restricted based on a student's physical anatomy or chromosomal sex. A student must be permitted to access restrooms or bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms that align with their gender-related identity and without having...
If that's what the law is, then that's what the law is. But I think the real question is, why is the law that way and why isn't it being changed right now? Yeah, so it's a stupid law. I don't know if you guys know this, but all laws are made up. They're not real. You just change the rules. So if there's a rule that's stupid, you get rid of the rule. I feel like that's okay, great. So she found the thing that we should change. Federal law trumps that? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But there shouldn't be a state law that even says it in the first place.
To provide documentation or other proof of gender. Under this act, and it is stated, the discomfort or privacy concerns of other students, teachers, or parents are not valid reasons to deny or limit the...
What is this here? Let me listen to that again.
Provide documentation or other proof of gender. Under this act, and it is stated, the discomfort or privacy concerns of other students, teachers, or parents are not valid reasons.
So people's discomfort is not valid, but your discomfort is valid. Who decided that? Oh, that's right. You did. I think we should have a vote on this. We'll see we'll see who's more of each group, huh? How about that?
To deny or limit the full and equal use of those facilities based on a student's gender-related identity. Instead, any student, teacher, or other individual seeking more privacy should be accommodated by providing that individual with a more private option upon their request. Sounds like that would be a great option in this case for your kids.
The problem with that is what happens when too many people want that and then it breaks the system. That's the issue with what this person's bringing up, is that basically if you have a situation where you can request to change privately, if everybody requests to change privately, there's an overwhelming amount of people in those private spaces and the system can't function. You understand? And so you have a group of like, let's say this is a class, right? So you have a class of like, 30 to 50 people contorting around one person. any logical person would immediately say that that one person is the person who should be in the private room. But somehow that's not the case. Why are they directly allowed to confront other speakers in clearly hostile way? Nobody's being violent. Everybody's being civil here. Everything's fine.
Talk to everyone else. Don't point us out. Do not look at
Excuse me.
So the
excuse
whole
me,
audience is that direction.
Excuse me. It's his time to talk, right? So.
Thank you. So if needed, we'd be happy to dig in, to contact our coalition, to make sure that the board is supported in doing the right thing for the right reasons and following Illinois state law. If you need my assistance.
And this is always what it leads back to, is that it's being on the right side of history, having the right opinions, and this appeal to some sort of amorphous form of virtue that's never really defined. That's basically how it is.
Please do reach out. It's transupfrontil.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. And you can see all the people clapping for this. There's a lot of people that are happy about this. And so what you have to do is, I think that more people need to be outspokenly against this, and they need to push back against this publicly so we can stop having our asylums run by the inmates. These people are insane. They are insane if they think that it is a reasonable perspective to have that children should be dressing out in front of the opposite gender and it should be enforced by the school administration. This is, and the problem of what happens is that the people that have these viewpoints are very, very outspoken and free about having these viewpoints. And the people that aren't are afraid of getting in trouble. And they're afraid of, like, you know, these people like maligning them as a transphobe, trying to systematically destroy their life. I think that there needs to be a much bigger group of people that put out a very observable and very demonstrated expression that these people are the fringe, tiny minority. They are extreme radicals and they should be treated this way. That's the problem. You can't speak against it, at least you can for the last 4 years. Well, that's why you have to make sure that never happens again. And so I think it's extremely important for everybody to speak out against this, because the people that are in favor of it are doing it with impunity. And one of the advantages that they have is that they do have, in a lot of cases, I would say, is it structural advantages, systematic advantages where they can work to destroy a person's credibility or their life by disagreeing with these things. They have institutional power that they can exercise. So the way that you do that is that you show that that institutional power is an extreme minority. And if you do that, then it goes away. I live in a very liberal area. Not being allowed to speak your mind has been a thing for decades, not just recent. Well, the reason why is because people let that happen. And I think that if you want to stop that from happening, you have to actively oppose it. And that's why I make videos about this kind of stuff, and I talk about it, and I'm very matter-of-fact, plain English about this stuff. I think these people are insane, and I think that a lot of them groom their kids to be trans because that's what they want them to be. I'm sorry, but if you have a kid and the kid can't talk and they're underage and they don't even understand what sex entirely is, you have no business telling them or deciding whether they're trans or not. That's insane. And it's child abuse. Yeah, it's sick. And more people need to come out and say this before it gets worse. And the people who really should be saying this more than anyone are moderate Democrats, because these people will alienate average, reasonable, like middle of the road independent voters. And if an independent voter looks at this and they say, who's right? The person who wants to force children to change out in locker rooms in front of their parents, in front of the opposite gender, or the person who thinks that this one person who is, underage, who doesn't even entirely understand. If they're 13, right? That means, and this is Illinois, if you're 13, you're in 7th or 8th grade, right? Unless you're either, unless you're really smart. And so you're in middle school. These people haven't even completely gone through puberty. They haven't even completely gone through puberty, and you're telling them that they have to do this. This is outrageous. And so, crash out's a dangerous precedent. It is. It's an extremely dangerous precedent. And this is what's going to happen. A growing number of the gay community have been speaking out against this. Yeah, and I feel bad for you guys, because a lot of you guys just want to fuck other dudes in the ass and get married and be left alone. I know, I get it. That's fine. And I'm okay with that. You want to fuck other dudes in the ass and be left alone and get married? That's fine. And it's disappointing that you guys are getting fucked by these people, because they're trying to use your cause as they're trying to coattail your cause that is, in my opinion, a noble cause. Why marriage? Because I think the state should I don't think that a priest should have to marry gay people. I don't think so. But I think the state should have a marriage system where if you apply for a marriage license, it's granted to you by the state between two people, regardless of their gender. And the reason, so civil union, I would be okay if they were only allowed to have civil unions. But the reason why I'm not is because civil union doesn't contain the same type of, for example, end of life rights are much broader in a marriage than in a civil union. So you would have to make them completely equal. But in the case where a marriage is different and provides more rights, then a marriage is something that every American and every adult American should be entitled to. Because you shouldn't be discriminated on based off of your sex or your gender. Marriage is from God. It stopped being from God when the state decided what marriage was. It's also from the state of Texas or the state of Illinois. There are two different versions of marriage. There's the state idea of marriage, and there's the religious idea of marriage. And I already very clearly explained that the religious idea of marriage they are not entitled to, because that compels labor from people who do not want to do that. And I think it's a violation of their religion. But if there is a state definition of a state definition of marriage, then every person should be entitled to that, regardless of gender or orientation. And I can't see a single argument against that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't see a single. But and here's what's really disappointing, right? I could have said this 10 years ago, and everybody would be spamming based, and nobody would be disagreeing. But now, because of these extreme radical psychos, now we're seeing people celebrating the repealing of what I believe to be core foundational civil rights. And it's really dangerous to see this happen. And I feel bad for a lot of the gay people, bisexual people, and even moderate trans people that want to live their life in privacy, that these extremists are caricaturing their entire movement as weird groomers. It sucks. It really sucks. And I want you guys to know that I'm on your side. But what I want you to know even more is that these people aren't. These people will destroy your movement. They will caricature you as freaks and pedos, and they will make everybody hate you, and they've been doing a great job at that. That's it. They went too far? This is way too far. J.K. Rowling made a great tweet a while ago why Democrats will not back down on this issue. I don't know what that is. You can say that there's no argument, but what happens whenever a kid has two dads or two moms? I think it fucks up the kid, to be honest. I don't think that you could apply that reasoning to other things. So I disagree with you, but I was thinking about why I disagree. I disagree because what you're then advocating for is for parents to demonstrate that they're fit to be parents. And maybe that is a good idea. But I don't think that should begin and end with gender. So, for example, what about a single mom? What about a parent who doesn't make a lot of money? I think if you use that argumentation and you apply it to other situations, I think it falls apart. And so that's the reason why I don't agree with it. I'd have to have a better argument than that. Yeah, divorced parents. Yeah, that's another example too. That's different though. The fuck? Everything's always different, but things have degrees of similarity, and I think that's a degree of similarity. Genetics too? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I saw this before, and you can read some of the comments about this. Let's read some of the comments. Deerfield middle school administrators forced teen girls to change in front of a girl locker room. Here they are. Wow. Wow. Who could have guessed that it is another council of Karens? Another council of Karens that are looking for a new way to virtue signal about how they're good people. This is amazing. How does it keep happening? The usual suspects. Yes. It just keeps happening. It's always middle-aged white women. Yeah, I agree. And let's see here. This is sexual assault, and by the boy and the school administration. What they need to do is they need to find out the people that did this, if it were these people that forced them to do it, and they need to be tried federally for sex crimes. You don't deal with this with a scalpel, you deal with it with a hammer. You are aggressive, brutal, you set an example, and that stops it. Fire them and charge them, why not both? Oh yeah, of course both. Right, but what I'm saying is that nothing like this really, and these are all metaphors, by the way. I would never advocate for violence in any circumstance. And this is just simply, this is what I think the judicial system should do. You mean the gavel? Yes, the gavel. I like that. That's better metaphor. You talked about the greater good. The greater good is a father and a mother. Are there outliers? Yes, but we shouldn't treat them as the norm. You're right that they're outliers. And that's why people who file for adoption usually have to file out paperwork and figure out, and make sure that that's what happens. Yeah, and that they're not random weird people. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like a very strong opinion about this, but yeah. Do you think transgenderism is a big pharma psyop? No, I don't think so. Let's see here. Illinois State, they have a law that protects transgender students in the bathroom, girls' locker room. They have multiple organizations represent transgender students. Where these organizations get their funding. Transgender parents has a good option for their women's kids if they make arrangement for their girls. If they don't make arrangements, they're not included anymore. Anytime to move. Yeah, exactly right. And let me get straight. Teachers force young girls to undress in front of a boy while they watched. Yeah. I feel like that right there. I think there should be some accountability for this. Yeah, it's really simple. And there has to be personal criminal accountability. That's what I advocate for. Personal criminal accountability that is as draconian as possible. Set an example, and that way nobody will do it.